Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady. Today, there are 3 more great stories waiting for us, and the title of our first story speaks for itself. Would I be naked if I worked here? But before we start, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. So I went clothes shopping today. The dressing room had a 6-item limit, and I had more than 6 things to try on, so I left some with the dressing room clerk at the desk. I folded up the things I'd tried on that I wasn't buying and brought them to the clerk and exchanged them for new items. As I was doing this, a woman tapped me on the shoulder and said, Hey, carry these in here, please. I guess assuming I was a clerk too. I don't work here. Sure you do. I saw you folding clothes. I was returning those items. I'm in a hurry here, excuse me. And I walked off because I didn't have time to get into it with her and try on everything I needed to. Hey, she followed me. Thankfully, the desk clerk saw her and went over to help her, so she let me be. I went into the changing room, put on an outfit, and stepped out to see it in the full-length mirror. Bear in mind, I'd changed my clothes at this point. I don't know how this didn't make it clear that I was shopping, but she asked, Can you get this for me in a smaller size? I pretended to not hear her and rushed back into my dressing room to avoid the confrontation. Apparently, I was in such a hurry that I didn't properly latch the door. Because sliding the dress over my head, my boobs flopped out in the breeze, and this woman followed after me and opened the door. I take the dress off and see her staring, mouth agape, and she just says, You really don't work here, do you? Stunned, but mostly irritated, I reply, Would I be naked if I worked here? She walked away, I shut the door and finished up. When I came out to give my next round of items to the clerk, the woman was waiting for me. She apologized over and over and said she'd been on autopilot all day. I told her don't worry about it, and I hope she enjoyed the show. I wonder what the clerk thought happened. Looks like somebody finally saw the naked truth of the situation. And our second story for today. Ring me up or else. So a few years back, I worked for a company that would sell and repair retail and bank equipment. This ranged from ATMs to office printers. Our big retail items were cash registers and self-checkouts. As a technician, I would ride out to the store that opened a support ticket and never really had an office or even a logo. Our uniform was really just a nice polo, khaki pants, and black boots. One of our biggest customers on the retail side was a superstore known for blue uniforms. I would spend entire days in these stores just working on cash registers. I also do my best to avoid wearing the usual colors for most store uniforms and opt for a black polo. I can't count how many times people would approach me while I'd be testing scanners and demand I ring up their stuff. One particular day, I needed to replace a motherboard on a register and had the parts laid on the belt next to me as I dusted things off and removed the case. An older couple who'd been waiting in line sees me and decides that I'm somehow about to open. The husband starts to shove my parts forward so he could begin stacking their stuff on the belt. Looking up, I kindly mentioned to the couple that, I'm sorry, this register isn't open, and gestured to all the pieces in front of me. His wife started to sigh. We can see that, but you'll be done soon. We can wait. All the while, the husband's still stacking product on the belt. No, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm repairing the register. I don't work for the store. I'm just a repairman. She still wasn't convinced, but I could see the husband at least realized I wasn't in the usual employee uniform. The wife eventually took the hint after I repeated myself and dusted my shirt off to point it out further. Well, if you fix it, can you ring us up anyway? It's not like it's rocket science. I'm trying not to get snarky with this couple, but I live for passive-aggressive softballs. The thrill of pointing out someone's stupidity when they've given me an attitude is a glorious high. The husband, not wanting to lose face, despite knowing that I was indeed a repairman and not a cashier, started to get grumpy. Why can't this effing store just open more than 2 registers? The wife started again. Just hurry up and ring our things. I sigh and think maybe some people are visual learners, so I remove my parts from the belt and place them at my feet, not back into their case. This leaves a noticeable emptiness to the station, as all that's left is dangling cables and the scanner. I proceed to grab the first item and try to scan it. Of course, no beep sound and nothing happens. Now with my best customer service face, I'm sorry, doesn't look like the register's working. Not happy with my answer, they demand that I move them to another register. Sadly for them, I had 2 other tickets for that store, and the adjacent register needed a hand scanner. I walk over to the register with the item I had used before and keyed in the store's training mode, which lets me scan things as a mock purchase. So it looks like a real transaction. I proceeded to use the scanner, and a sad, dying beep comes from it. Nothing was ringing up with it. The husband, now getting more furious, demands I use the scale scanner and try again. Seeing the opportunity to hit this one out of the park, I change the quantity to 100 and scan the item, a can of veggies, and the price appears on the little flagpole. The husband starts cursing again, and the wife moans, "None of these registers work." Showing mild concern, I say, "I'm sorry, it looks like you'll have to wait in line for another cashier." At this point, the cashiers around me had witnessed the show and were trying not to laugh as they rang everyone else up. The lines had started to back up a bit more, and a manager opened up one more lane. Unfortunately for my couple here, they didn't get to it in time to be the first. While they waited, I replaced the hand scanner and did a few test purchases, which worked just fine. So now I go back to my motherboard replacement, which the couple can now see the lane from behind and how my tool bag and all the other parts were settled in. They didn't go to the manager, thankfully. Not that it would have done much, as this store loved me. However, I could hear them complain to the cashier about the broken lanes, to which the cashier replied by singing my praises, and I could see their faces turn red, and they left. Not the most exciting I don't work here story, I know, but that job had so many moments like this where it baffled me how people couldn't put clues together to see pieces scattered about. The ATM side was just as bad, especially drive-through outdoor units. Can't count how many times I've been boxed in with angry customers waiting on me to move as I work. I could have huge dispenser units on the ground next to me, and they still wouldn't take the hint that it was broken, eventually storming off. And the third story. Boss and his wife going through divorce, she wanted me to order him to do her bidding. I was in the Air Force and had been recently promoted, then transferred to a small electronics maintenance shop in California. The shop boss, a scatterbrained and somewhat spineless guy, thought that I was going to be the new boss until we figured out that he outranked me by time and grade. So we were the same rank, but he held his rank a year earlier than I did. So he was the boss. He was also going through a very messy divorce. He caught his wife cheating on him and was heartbroken and bewildered, but his civilian wife had become extremely vicious and was trying to get him in trouble. Her boyfriend was a military cop, MP. She tried using that against my boss until the military caught on and put a stop to it. So I'd only been there for a couple of days and was alone in the shop doing paperwork when the shop phone rang. Blah Squadron, Staff Sergeant Calidus. This line may be unsecured. How can I help you? Oh, you're the new NCOIC, shop boss for the civilian folks. Jim, Staff Sergeant Bewildered, told me you're going to be in charge. I need you to make him do something for me. Sorry, no. Staff Sergeant Bewildered is still shop boss. He outranks. No, he doesn't. Why are you covering for him? Well, we just figured it out yesterday, ma'am. He's out. No, you're his boss, she yelled. And you need to tell him to let me the F into our house. I'm sorry, ma'am, but he's my boss, and I won't get involved in his private life. You're an a-hole, and you're lying for... Click. I hung up the phone. Phone rings. Blah Squadron, Staff Sergeant Calidus. This line may be unsecured. How... You a-hole! Why the F... Click. I hung up the phone again. Phone rings. Blah Squadron, Staff Sergeant. God dang it, you F... Click. I hung up the phone again. There was a noticeable pause. The phone rang. Blah Squadron, Staff Sergeant Calidus. This line may be unsecured. How can I help you? Her very quiet and somewhat contrite voice said, Why do you keep hanging up on me? Ma'am, this is a military phone line for military business. I'm not required to listen to an abusive civilian who has nothing to do with my job, so any cursing will immediately end this phone call. Speaking to me is your privilege, not your right. She started to say something, but I just bulldozed over her. Ma'am, I don't know you and you don't know me, but you've accused me of being a liar to protect your husband from you. Frankly, I don't care one way or the other. What is true is that he does outrank me by a year in grade and will remain the shop boss unless something changes. You are not in my chain of command, ma'am. So even if I did outrank your husband, I would not order him to do anything for you because that would be unlawful and unethical. I don't give a damn about what's going on between the two of you, and since I'm not anyone's friend here, I won't lift a finger to help either of you solve your personal problems. As long as his personal life doesn't get in the way of his Air Force duties or break the laws of UCMJ, then I just don't care. Now get off my phone. I have work to do. And I hung up again. She spent the next year trying to F up his life and almost succeeded, but a judge saw through the crap and awarded him full custody of their children with supervised visits only by her. He wasn't a great leader, but he was adequate. She was just such a bee. And she never said more than a sentence or two to me for the entire rest of my time at that assignment. Hey guys, thank you for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.